And growing up, we still had the stability of a home. My parents owned their home. That was instilled in us, that was achievable. If we worked hard and we saved, we could get ahead. And the way to get ahead in middle class really is through home ownership. So I think there isn't one person who has bought their first home that doesn't reflect on the magnificence of that opportunity when they buy their first home. And it is how we started as a young married couple. And we invested and we saved and we had that opportunity to buy our home. And that's not available anymore in Kootenai County. And it's not because young people aren't working hard and doing everything right. It is a circumstance that is beyond their control because our market has escaped them. They are talented, hardworking, and all they want to do is stay and live in the community where they grew up.
So when you picture our local community and where it is now and where it's heading, what are you most afraid of losing?
The vibrancy and the integrity of our community, because an aging community without young families rising up, living here, raising their kids here, it will die. And there's proof of that in other parts, not just across the country, but in this state. And so I think, a lot of people are so afraid of the growth and they think they can stop growth. We can't, but we can manage it in a way that will keep us still a very vibrant community. And I understand that fear at some level, but it's misguided because to reduce or deny residential development is a surefire way to make sure that prices continue to far outpace our local wages, that our people will move away, and we will not have the vibrancy that they brought in 1680.
So let's go back for a second and talk about that proof a little bit. I'm assuming you're referencing Sun Valley, is that right?
Absolutely.
And so we've talked about that before as kind of an example. They're very culturally similar to us. They're a resort town. There's lots of tourism there, and it's a great place for people to visit, and there's lots of wealth there. So that is kind of an example, maybe even a preview of what could happen to us locally. Can you speak on that?
Yeah, I'd love to. It is a preview. I like that you use that word, right? It is a very tangible, very real example of what will happen if we don't come up with solutions, which I think we have already, to ensure that our local, hardworking, particularly young families can stay here. So with Sun Valley, it has become virtually a ghost town, except for when all the outsiders come in for different events or different periods of time in the year. Venerable businesses have shut down. I like to just because they don't have employees, right? They can't fill jobs. And I like to say that it is a slow wrecking ball. It doesn't happen overnight, but they have ignored their need for worker housing for over 30 years. So we are on the cusp of beginning that 30-year period, I think, right? We're already into it probably with where we are in Kootenai County, but it will happen here. It just doesn't happen overnight. So for us to look at Sun Valley and to learn from their mistakes is extremely valuable, right?
Agreed.
We can avoid those mistakes if we do it right.
Yes, and I think Miracle on Britton is an example of that. I mean, that has happened. So tell me more about how we can continue to replicate that and what that's going to do for our community in the long run.
I think your question was, with Britton, we have landed on a way to actually construct homes, sell them at below market, and preserve those in perpetuity for a certain income level and a certain wage earning household. And we knew it was possible, but now that we've gone vertical and we've got people actually moving into these homes, it is immediate. It is very scalable. It is very replicable. We see it throughout not just Kootenai County, but the entire state. In fact, I'm talking to people in Sun Valley right now about this solution because they do have land. And it's an opportunity, I think, for us to say this is not insurmountable. It's doable, and it's doable today.
So what are some of the tools that city officials have in their tool belt right now that they could use to make projects like Britton more attainable?
Well, first and foremost is the land. They've got the flexibility to allow for mixed density for developments on smaller lots, right? And infill projects, for instance. If a builder has an infill, but 2 lots are non-conforming, let them use those lots to put these deed-restricted homes on. So I think their greatest, most immediate tool is that they have flexibility with the density. And honestly, we are going backward on that in this community, right? We are increasing minimum lot sizes, which is making it even more elusive and impossible to get starter homes built for our workers. They also have, I think, flexibility in trying to figure out creatively with their impact fees. Is there a way for them to construct their impact fees in a way that they still collect them, but they don't collect them up front? I mean, all of that saves interest for these developers. And then in addition to that, permitting. They could accelerate the permitting time for developments that include a portion of these deed-restricted homes, right? If we've got, and we do right now have a couple of builder developers who are willing to do this and actually make no money or even lose some money on the deed-restricted homes because they want to give back to the community. But the only way this is truly scalable, and I didn't mention this before, is that the private market drives it. There is no federal funding, but there is a partnership, a public-private partnership where the public entities, our governments, understand their return on investment for giving these reduced fees and this greater mixed density option, right? So that there are smaller lots available for these homes. That is the partnership that reduces the costs, and those costs are always saved. They're just preserved through the deed restriction. So the cities have a major role, and they can be the champions in this, to start really thinking ahead and thinking long-term about how they really truly save the integrity and the vibrancy of the communities that are growing because of our population growth.
And that return on investment is not a short game, it's a long game. And so they have to see that vision and know that this is where they live too. And do they really want to stop going to their favorite restaurants or using the services that they love and need?
And I have heard from some, well, that's just hyperbole. And it's like, look at Sun Valley. 2 beloved restaurants for decades now closed because of lack of workers.
And the average home price well over $1 million, according to a local resident that I was just speaking with.
That's exactly right.
Incredible.
And it seems like it's far off here, but honestly, the average sale price of a home here is close to $700,000. Mm-hmm. So we are not that far away. And it's like, how do you get that across to people to understand that the inevitable will happen to us if we don't come up with these solutions?